Alrighty, this is one of the first videos that I'm doing commentary on, so, you know, my apologies if it's not the best. I'm not really doing this with a script, so good luck to me, I guess. So, what even is Terra Realm? It's an ASYM, but it's not any ASYM. It's special because it's in its public beta testing phase, so that means the public gets to be able to play the game too. Honestly, now that I think about it, I probably should have made a script, because I'm just doing this all like completely without anything. I'm just saying the first things that come to my mind. But with that out of the way, let's start talking about the convicts who are the survivors in the game. So first we have Rocketeer. He is the starting character for the game. Let me move my mic a little closer. There we go. So let's see. He has a rocket launcher with a cooldown of 20 seconds. He like pulls out a big old rocket launcher, and when you shoot it, you know, you shoot a rocket because it's a rocket launcher. You know, it stuns the killer for about, I think like 4 seconds maybe. And there's also his bomb trap. You know, you set a little mine on the ground, and if the killer gets too close, they'll get slowness and they'll be deafened for 4 seconds. It also, you know, reveals where the killer is to everyone, which is, you know, a good plus. They're like a support stunner. You know, they can't really fend off for themselves because the abilities take a long time to wind up. So they're more like a support stunner in my eyes. And if I were to rate Rocketeer from 1 to 10, 1 being the worst, 10 being the best, I would probably put Rocketeer at a solid 6.5. He's not really the best in some scenarios, but he's definitely not the worst. And with Rocketeer out of the way, let's move on to Wando. That is his name. Don't ask me why it sounds like that. Anyways, Wando has one passive, and that would be Adrenaline. You know, there's like a little bar at the bottom of the screen when you play as Wando, and like if you're like close to the killer, like in a 30 stud range, you'll start building up a meter. It's basically the higher your meter is, the more buffed your abilities would, you know, get buffed. Onto Wando's next ability, which is Punch. Guess. Wow, I don't know where that came from. Anyways, if you have less than half, it'll give the killer slowness 2. If the adrenaline is also less than half, then it'll make the wind up for the punch 0.4 seconds instead of 0.7. But it ends quicker with only 0.2 seconds instead of 0.4 seconds. If your adrenaline is more than half, it'll actually stun the killer, with the length of the stun being higher with the more adrenaline you have, capping out at 3 seconds. And yes, if you want my honest opinion, it's pretty much just guessed, but with extra steps. On to the next convict, being the fucking GOAT, the community. Genuinely my favorite convict out of everyone I've played so far. Like, he's just so unique. He's so awesome. He's the GOAT. He's legendary. But anyways, he has a passive called Ratings, baby. Basically, what it does is that he has a rating meter on his UI that acts like a scoring system, staying in the chase without being hit, landing abilities, collecting items, being near a convict when they are hurt or killed, completing tasks, even though tasks aren't in the game yet, or using items will increase these ratings. Being hit, missing your abilities like a fucking chud, being near the anomaly when another convict stuns them, or going too long without being chased will lower your ratings. Having higher ratings will decrease the cooldowns of your abilities and give you higher max health. Having lower ratings will make your stamina regenerate slower, as if it's not already rather slow, and cause your max health to be lowered. And moving on to his abilities, he has Assisting Orb. And what he does when he uses that ability is that he pulls out a megaphone and starts speaking into it. And it produces sound waves that can slow the anomaly if the community can keep the waves aimed on them. Aiming and getting the sound waves on the anomaly at all will highlight them for as long as you have it aimed at them. It lasts 8 seconds in total. After 2 seconds with the wave aimed successfully at the anomaly will gain slowness 1 after 4 seconds. If the wave is still aimed successfully at the anomaly, they will gain slowness 2 for 2 seconds. Getting hit at all will, cancel the move. Pressing Q again will also cancel the move early, which I really wish I knew when I was playing the game at the time. The next ability is Taunting Tormentor. The community, taunts a total of 3 times, giving any convicts in a 50 stud range speed 1 for 2 seconds. If the anomaly is caught in that hitbox, they are given slowness 3 for 1 second. If the community is able to land all 3 taunts with the anomaly, he'll do a mad dash. Like, he will book it. But anyway, yeah, he does a mad sprint to gain distance for like 7 seconds. And if he hits a wall, it'll cancel the rush early, and it'll stun him for a few brief moments. But, if you run throughout his entire meter, he'll eventually stop to catch his breath for 3 seconds. For his cutaway ability, he pulls out a little cardboard cutout of himself and places it in front of him, acting as an obstacle for the anomaly. The anomaly can destroy it by simply running into it or using any move, but breaking the cutout will give the anomaly slowness 1 and helpless for 2 seconds. The community is unable to be highlighted during this move. And he's also able to place 2 cutouts and pick them up at will. The cutouts give him about 1.5 ratings every second that they're active, which honestly is not that bad, let's be honest. But yeah, that's the community. On to the next character, Bloom. Bloom, boom, boom, boom. I don't like Bloom. Onto her passive. She has a meter on the top of her avatar that grows the more she heals with her moves. It goes to 0 once Rejuvenating Blossom is used. Nothing much, but onto her abilities being... Living Touch. Bloom summons a little green projectile that travels to the closest person that isn't max health, and continues to follow them until they make contact, where they'll be healed, and when the projectile touches them, it'll heal for 3 HP. This will increase Bloom's rejuvenation process, her little meter, by 1.5. On to the next ability, being Vine Whip. Bloom, she slams the ground to create a vine-like AoE blast. If this projectile hits the killer, it'll wrap around the killer's leg and give both the killer and Bloom slowness 1 for 10 seconds, or until Bloom takes any amount of damage. Bloom should not be slowed. That's not really, I don't see the point of slowing Bloom down for, using her ability successfully. Anyways, for the Rejuvenation Blossom, or Rejuvenating Blossom, there we go. Bloom will cast a spell that causes a 50 stud burst from her staff's crystal that heals anyone in the hitbox. The amount of the Rejuvenating Blossom meter. That was hard to say for some reason. Anyways, I'm going to be going over the killers very briefly, because there's quite a bit to go over them, so let's begin. So Draco Blockster has a meter on the bottom of his screen indicating how much of her meter is left until you could use Draconic Rage. The meter can be filled up by dealing damage, and you have your typical slash doing 20 damage, and In Search of Bodies is a indicator where you crouch down and become partially invisible while disabling its terror radius, highlighting all the convicts currently alive. and your slash now deals 30 damage. Feral Frenzy will cause Draco Boxer to enter a running stance, and he will be able to run very, very quickly. If he runs into a convict, he'll pin them down and he'll do a total of 40 damage. With Draconic Rage, he'll turn into a big-ass dinosaur, and all his moves get buffed or they get changed. His M1 does 30 damage now, and Prey Hunting will cause him to charge up for 2 seconds, similar to Feral Frenzy, and you will basically do the same thing but for 50 damage. Bone Crusher will cause Draco Boxer to charge up for 2 seconds before he does a small jump in the air. He will deal 24 damage to any convict that gets hit by the landing radius. Moving on to Guess 666, he has a passive called Dominion. And basically what happens when a convict dies with the status, they'll become possessed and attack their other survivors. And you know, you've got your M1, you've got John Doe Trap, basically. You basically got a teleport that is basically the same thing as Noise Generator Teleport, but with eyes, and the eyes deal damage if you teleport to them when a survivor's near. Next is Prosecution, which is basically that one vampire bat dude's ability from Forsaken. Anyways, on to the next killer being Mary. Fuck Mary. She needs so many, she needs so many nerfs. You've got your typical passive where you are forced to target someone if you want to deal extra damage. You've got your M1, you know, it's an M1. You've got Pursuit, where it's basically just Draco Boxer's Pursuit ability, but better. You've got Fracture, where it's pretty much just an easy M1 if you're able to aim. You've got Shattering Scream, where you get speed, and you know, you can't really, you know, lose as this character unless you just really suck. Please nerf this character. Anyways, yeah, that was my little rant of a video. You know, the game's decent. Try it out. Anyways, yeah.